Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ray and we are here to check out the album preview for Taemin's new album Eternal, which will be releasing in like a couple of weeks. Mini album, I guess, technically. So he released like this kind of 5-minute preview of like snippets of the songs that will be on the album, so that we could get kind of an early look at the music. I'm really excited. This will be his first solo album that he's releasing after leaving SM and moving to his new company. This will also, based off of the credits that I've seen, this will also have his hand on pretty much all of the songs as a composer, and then I think a couple of them as a lyricist. So it's all kind of, like really his baby in a lot of ways. So I'm really excited to see what he has to give. I mean, he's been releasing like teaser photos, including this one, and like some different, kind of just quick snippets of things. And he's had his fan meeting, and he's announced his world tour, Ephemeral Gaze, and so I'm really excited to see what this next chapter in his artistry is going to look like. Because I think this will be kind of the most personal and the most he has poured himself into his artistry that we've seen yet. And he's also a very kind of cerebral person, so I expect a lot of like really interesting visuals and like a lot of metaphorical things, but also maybe, just a more of a raw look at his artistic process. I'm excited. I don't have anything else to say. I'm ready to just jump in and watch this preview trailer, whatever. Let's go. No subtitles. It's all good. Ooh, upside down. Name.
Goat. OMGREATNSS. Goat. OMGREATNSS. 거친 숨소리 또 너를 홀리지. Like I'm on overdrive. OMGREATNSS. Ooh, can't you feel it? Sex is in the air. Sex is in the air. 감나게 깨어나는 timing. Sex is in the air. Trapping my love. Sex is in the air.
I love this tape. Very old school decision. Ooh. These visuals are kind of eating. Ooh, nice. Underwater. Nice. Ooh, and it looks like he's twinning there. Ooh, they really said snippets. Kevin always eats when it comes to visuals, y'all. Oh. Sweet sentimental, maybe? Ah, of course. Duplicity. Not duplicity. Duplication. Maybe a little duplicity, actually. this is gonna be one of my faves. Oh, this is so my vibe. Wait. Ooh, back underwater. Yeah, this one. Oh yeah, this one. These almost look like visualizers, right? Like if he were to release a visualizer for every song. Ooh, lots of bass.
찾아낸 너란 process 홀가분해져 I feel like I can't do anything 마치 돌고 돌아서 왠지 꿈을 꾼 것만 같았지 그곳에서 내 우주와는 별이 쏘아올려
Ah, this is gonna be such a great album. Hold up. Okay, wait, pause. Because this is the credits. So this is what I mentioned. Like, he has his name on pretty much all of the compositions. Okay. Sex in the Air. That's the one Dem Joints is on. That makes sense to me because that's also one that I was like, oop, what's happening? Yeah, I like that. I'm looking at these. Sorry, I'm like just sitting here reading these. These credits. Yeah, Say Less, Deja Vu, Sexy in the Air. Yeah. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, I didn't need to sit there while I read all of those credits. Oh. Puddle. Dope. Yeah, 8/19. So, oh wow, not even. It's next week. Why did I think it was in 2 weeks? It's next week. All right. Okay, that was my first reaction to the preview, kind of like a preview medley for the new album out next week, not in 2 weeks, next week. So look forward to that. Okay, so off rip, there's 7 songs total on the mini album. Off rip, I'd say 4 of them are probably going to be kind of my faves. Just off of the small clip that we heard. Probably that's going to be Sexy in the Air, Crush, Deja Vu, and Say Less. Those are the ones that like really like, yeah, that's my jam. It's not that I didn't like the others, it's just that I'll probably need to hear the full song to see how I feel about them. The first one, Goat, is very experimental just based off of that clip, which is not necessarily a bad thing for me, but when it comes to experimental songs, I need to hear the complete product to see how I feel about it, because they're experimental. So what we got there is not necessarily what we're going to get for the rest of the song. I mean, to be fair, none of these songs could any of these songs could possibly switch up halfway through. This is K-pop, we know what we're dealing with, and you know that could happen. So so I say that tentative. I say my top 4 currently tentatively. In terms of order, I can't judge that. I have to wait until I hear the full album. I will be doing a full album listen for this, just as I did for Guilty. I've been kind of following the rollout of his, teaser photos and things like that. They've been very interesting, very Taemin, you know, very him. Even though we're getting new sides of him, it was very him somehow still, because he's part of everything that he does. You know, there's nothing that he does, I feel like, that isn't like somehow influenced by him. So you can feel his stamp on pretty much almost everything that he does, certainly within the last like 7 to 8 years for sure. But these latest teasers, you know, he has, I use this photo because this is probably my favorite persona of the photos, the teaser photos that he's been releasing. This kind of bride, you know, bride persona that he has, who's like, you know, wearing like really casual clothing, but also is done up in like this bridal veil, and you know, the jewelry and the lace and whatnot. But then he has a ball cap on. It says "I Kill Romance," which is also a cap that was used by Kai. I can't remember when, but I remember a photo of him with this same cap. So, but Taemin is using it as like a juxtaposition, or as almost an oxymoron of like this bride who also kills romance. And you know, that brings up the question of like, are we considering marriage as the killer of romance, or is this like a scorned bride situation where, you know, that thing that happens sometimes where you get married, somebody gets married, and then the moment they get married, the person they married to changes after that, and becomes a different person, which happens, unfortunately. Obviously, you know, this is a persona that Taemin is putting on. A lot of his work is personal, but it's also not him. You know, like it's a character. It's Taemin the performer. So we're getting this side of him, and then we had the other teasers that was very nautical in theme, where, you know, he's in like this like Saw bathroom, and there's like, you know, ropes and chains and stuff everywhere, very BDSM dungeon style. So he's in that, and then there's another photo, the teasers of him in the all black, and he's got like the poorly blended extensions. That might be on purpose, I don't know. I have to see what the finished product looks like, but they did not make a single effort to blend those extensions at all. And I don't know if that's intentional or not. Hey, might be. I felt like that with Advice, where his hair in Advice was extensions as well, but it was also like cut in a way that was like kind of rough and like, you know, very grungy, to match the grungy side of the Advice promotions. So I feel like we're getting a little bit of that with this too. But anyway, so he has a few teasers out, and then he released one recently where it was like 8 different versions of him. It was like that one set that's like half the room was the dungeon and half the room was almost like an outside or balcony, and it was like the darker grays and then the lighter whites over here, and he's in both sides, and there's mirrors everywhere, and he literally is duplicated. I think there was like 8 different versions of him in both sides, and they all kind of like blend a little bit. Not blend, but they all come together kind of at the end and are looking at each other, almost like they're on opposite teams of something. You know, you have like the bifurcated line that's coming, you know, slanted through the whole scene. It's just a very interesting, very him kind of promo. And then like, I think yesterday or the day before, like very recently, he released a new set of photos, and it was just him casually just around the city, very reminiscent of Guilty. But whereas Guilty was like almost putting on the costume of casualness, these photos, even though they still are photos for an album, so they are still posed and everything like that. But he's like wearing his real clothing. Like he's wearing his real outfits, and we know that it's his real stuff because we literally see him casually wearing this kind of stuff when he's like at the gym, when he's posting pictures of himself at the gym or at the airport or stuff like that, and just, you know, at practice, dance practice. So he's wearing like his regular clothes, but he's using his regular clothes and his regular style as part of his, you know, promotional photographs. So there's a lot of interesting conversation to be had there about Taemin the person and Taemin the idol, and the blurred lines between those two, because he's taking this part of him that's personal and he's using it as a promotional material. And so is it that he is using a real part of himself for show, or is it that he's exposing a real part of himself to us, to his audience? And like, even in exposing a real part of yourself, once you move that real part of yourself into something promotional like this, it then becomes promotional. It then becomes artifice, right? It then becomes part of the artistic expression, and does that mean that it's therefore divorced from, you know, your true self? You know, once you use your true self as art, as promotion, as commercial, does that mean that it's no longer personal? You know, that's the question that I have with that. But either way, it's very interesting. It's very him. It's very like him to just release a bunch of stuff that like makes you sit there and think. And then he lets, you know, people have all their theories, and then he'll get on an interview and say, it's as simple as this. And it's like a 2-word explanation. Nothing personal, not autobiographical or anything like that. That's how he usually answers. And I love it. I love it. Anyway, so these songs, like I said, I mentioned the 4 that I think are probably going to end up being kind of my faves from the album. That's just based off of a gut instinct hearing the snippets. I'd say Crush and Deja Vu will probably be my 2 faves. And then probably those 2 will be my 2 faves, and then it'll probably be Sexy in the Air and Say Less, and then Goat and Under the Unknown Sea. I was about to say Under the Sea. The Unknown Sea will probably be kind of like, I don't want to say my least favorite, like they're trash, like, but you know, if you're ranking things, something's got to go at the top and something's got to go at the bottom. I don't necessarily mean the stuff at the bottom is shit. It just means that comparatively, it's not as much my fave as the others. So, but you can't 100% say that. I can't 100% say that because I haven't heard the whole song or the whole album, really. So, who knows? I might get into that album review and just be like, no, wait, Goat is actually the best. We'll see. We'll see. Either way, Taemin has his name on all of the compositions. Like, all of those compositions have his input. Or are from him or something like that. And then he has a few that are also he put his pen to as a lyricist. Like, obviously he's composed things before and he's written things before for his own music, but not to this extent. Not to the extent where the entire album has his handprint on it. You know, every single song has something from him, you know, something that was created from him or by him. You know, like he put his stamp on every single song on this. So that's kind of the first time we're getting that. So I'm very excited to see the full product and the full album. And the visuals on this 8. I did read that the director for this particular medley teaser is the same director from Idea and I think Criminal. Yeah, Idea and Criminal. which makes sense because he handpicked that director. He really likes that director. I'm sorry, I do not know that director's name, but I do know that he really likes working with him. So I do know that. I wonder if they're also going to be the person who's doing the full MV. I actually don't know who the director for the MV is going to be. Actually, to be fair, I don't know what the lead song is going to be. What is the title track going to be? Because I feel like we have not gotten that. Because none of the songs are called Eternity, so... So I have no idea what the title track is going to be. Is it going to be GOAT? Is it going to be... I mean, if I'm listening to it... If I'm listening to the snippets, which ones sound like title tracks? Probably GOAT, Sexy in the Air. Those two sound actually the most like title tracks to me. So I would guess that it's going to be one of those two. That's the lead title. That is the title track. Yeah. But I haven't looked it up to see. I've been trying to, well, one, I don't have a lot of time. But also, I've been trying to avoid any kind of spoilers. I want to just experience this album. That's why I didn't react to a lot of the stuff that he was putting out. And this will probably be the only thing that I react to prior to the album drop and the music video drop. But unlike Guilty, where I watch every little thing on camera for a reaction with you guys, this one, I think this is just going to be it. And then I'll do the MV, and then I'll do the full album review or first listen. And that'll be pretty much it. Yeah. But I'm not going to do, I'm going to try and keep the runtime also down, because my last Temin videos were like 40 minutes to an hour. I even cut some of them down. You didn't even see all of it. So I'm trying and curb some of that as much as possible, but you know, it is what it is. So if I end up rambling and just gabbing, then yeah, that's what y'all gonna get. I think that's everything I want to say for this. I mean, I could sit here for, like I said, for another hour and go through frame by frame and talk about each visual and what I think each visual means to each song. And maybe one day I'll do that. But for now, I think we'll go ahead and leave it there. So, yeah, feel free to jump over to Patreon if you're interested in that. If not, stay here, because I'll be releasing another one once he drops his next album. So, next week. All right, I'll see you guys then. Bye.
Baby, it's whatever. All this ever, but you